two, one. Boost ignition and liftoff. All systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and the Bean universe. Lesbo and the Bean. Latb. Latb. Where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and the Bean.
Welcome back. UFC 224 in the books, episode 102 here at Latb. Gonna get underway. Did we say get ready for a fun show? If you're the Latb Legion, you had a precursor that this was gonna be a fun fight of nights, and guess what? It came through. I thought it was a well worth it pay-per-view. How many decisions the entire night? One?
I have never seen so many finishes in any of my little...
As of late?
6-year life of UFC, 5-year life of UFC. I've never seen so many finishes.
It was heavy duty.
I think there was only one decision of the night. Every other fight was a finish.
Right.
And the decision fight of the night was one of the more exciting fights at 185 that I've seen in a long time.
I'd agree with that. It was close and it was actually right. We were in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro itself. There was people missing weight. What we haven't gotten into was there was one fighter out of Kevin Gastelum and John Lineker, who are habitual weight missers. We had a fighter completely overshadow them.
I think we should start
with
from
the worst
bottom to the top, and I think we should talk about her when we get to her.
All the way there, I was thinking that starting at Friday, and then it's the fights. But
do it.
As far as keep going with it?
Yeah, just compose it. I don't want to mess up your musical.
So either way, it was just Mackenzie DERN was 7 pounds overweight. She stopped cutting as of 2018. Every fighter that has come in over 4 or 5 pounds, we've talked about it on the show. They're not hurting themselves. They're going to have a physical advantage. Cooper stepped up and was like, I don't give a damn. I'll fight it anyways. But what I thought betting lines was more money on DERN. And that's the way that she's going to get wins in her career, I think, from this point on, is fighting women at 115 when she's 135. So, from the bottom of the top, though, we had a finish start off with a submission. Perez over.
The only other thing I wanted to talk about in UFC before we started the fight
on the Friday,
is I didn't know if you wanted to wish Mike Perry a happy assalamu alaikum, or I didn't know if you found out.
He is 2% African.
He can say,
African.
In America, we like to call that the N-word, with quotes, the N-word. He is allowed to say the N-word because he's 2%
And this was a 23andMe type of information that he received that told him he was that percent correct.
2%.
So, we know for a fact that DNA Ancestry 23andMe sequence helped catch the Golden State Killer. If you don't believe me, look that up. Fun little article you can read there.
If you're Mike Perry and you are, say, 2% of you is black, what 2%?
You know what 2%. The 2% that matters.
Okay, from the bottom to the top.
From the bottom to the top, though. We, again, had a finish for Perez over Boknovic. Boknovic being one of the worst fighters just in the UFC. He shouldn't have gone to the ground with Perez, and that's what he did immediately. Came in for the takedown, got away from all of his striking, and gave up his range. On the ground, was a fish out of water. It was a matter of time. 4 minutes, 28 seconds in. It was a quick finish. If Boknovic gets another fight now that he's 0-2 in the UFC, I'm going to fade him all day. Perez, going to look to fade a little bit as well. I'm not that confident.
You were not impressed with his performance.
He
looked hurt a little bit.
I don't know, he just looked young, and Boknovic is such low level of a fighter that I think he's going to probably be overpriced next fight, and he shouldn't be. There might be money to be made depending on the opponent there. Did either man stick out for you in that?
No, I stayed away from that fight, and I was glad I did all day. And I ended up with the right pick on it, and I was like, oh. I really thought when I was starting to watch the fourth fight of the night, I didn't think I got any right so far going into it. And I had all 3 right going into that fight, but I really had such little vested and put so little of those first 3 fights on any of my cards. It was of zero value to myself personally to get them right.
Right.
So, anyhow, that's how I felt about that fight. It was exciting for a first fight of the night. I was like, whoa. That guy hurt that guy. Oh, nope. I thought that other guy was going to win.
So, one of two decisions of the night, we had MV defeating Alberto Mina in a 3-round decision. That was a grinding fight for both fighters. MV definitely looks like he's growing more and has more room to go on in his career, where Mina, I think that's the cap. I think that's about the best level of a fighter that he can lose to. Unless they feed him scrubs, he's going to be someone I'm going to start, think, potentially fading from this point on, unless skill set's vastly different.
I really like MV going forward. I think he's young. He wants that Moscow card, the UFC Russian card. I think he's a perfect guy because he's a little heavier of a weight class. I mean, not heavier, but heavier compared to, like, you got Khabib. A lot of the Zabit, a lot of them are smaller guys. I don't mean, like, whoa, heavy, like he's a heavyweight, but I like him going forward. I think he has that body type that is just dangerous. That Dan Henderson body, that's the one to be weary of to me. The guy that looks like, you always say cord, that's tied like cord.
Good point. With Zabit, real quick, I don't know if we ended up touching on this point, but Zabit's last opponent pulled out of their fight, didn't sign the contract, and was officially let go. And I'm talking about Yair Rodriguez being let go from the UFC. How do you feel about that? Them leaving him out there to either go fight for Combate Bellator. Every organization is going to want to pick him up immediately.
I like Yair. I thought he was overhyped because he did exciting things in the octagon. I usually bet right on Yair. He was a good guy for me. I think he's young. I think he's exciting. I think he's handsome.
Potential?
Think he's from the right country. He checks all the boxes to me at being a superstar. That being said, we give you 2 fights and you refuse to...
to Lamas and Zabit.
What do you want? So you only want fights that you think you can win?
Well, he was, and this is the rating system where the rating system.
I mean, everyone
UFC,
would only want fights they think they could win, kinda. But don't you want to go against the best?
But you also want to go against higher ranked people because the UFC has used the ranking system in order to put fighters into money brackets. And now he's at 7, and they want to give him Zabit, who's not ranked, who's a really tough fight, or Lamas.
Everybody says Zabit might be the most underranked fighter in the UFC right now.
So why is he going to give up his number 7, 6 spot to this nobody? I see the point, but it's not why he should be there, but it's a culture of the UFC that's backfiring them for them. So, not to be freaking... Yair's trying to make a play, like, no, give me an easy fight, and the UFC's like, all right. But he'll get paid more to fight lesser competition is my constant
He would, though, fighting on that. I think that Moscow card's going to be so huge that...
But they won't pay their fighters regardless.
But there's something... As much as I want fights every weekend, the old model of the UFC where less is kind of more, when your pay-per-view is stacked from bottom to the top, it is kind of more. And in the old idea of UFC, of what I'm understanding is... fighting on a card like UFC Moscow, guys would have done it for free because it was just such a big deal. Right. Now, with the Conor McGregor era of fights, everybody's looking for their money fight. I think Zabit is a money fight. In my opinion, it's kind of like, fuck ranking. It's not about rankings anymore. Zabit's a money fight. You say you'll take it, you renegotiate, and do whatever you can with that. And he's like a Sugar Shane O'Malley to me. He is Russia's Sugar Shane. That is how I picture Zabit. Right. Like, he has this underground wave where, oh, wait, who's Sugar Shane? I don't know. He sold the most T-shirts last week. You know, I kind of think Zabit has this cool kid thing where, yeah, so what? You lose, and now you have a whole bunch of Russian fans. That now they're cheering for you next time, and you're still young enough that you're going to make an exciting fight. Zabit versus... Yair. I don't know. I think it's kind of a disappointment. It seems like he wasn't doing it to go backwards.
Such an opportunity lost. Such an opportunity, I think, that the UFC... And
would you rather fight Zabit or Lamas?
Lamas.
Agree.
Because he's still a top 10 guy. That's more of a winnable fight than I think Zabit right now, especially Styles.
I just also think Yair's last fight was Frankie Edgar just tore his ass up.
Changed his mind.
And
a fight will do that
it would be hard to go into 2 fights in a row having that mindset of, I don't want to do this, which we can talk about again later in the card as we go back into it.
On to Jack Hermansson defeating Talis Leites via TKO in the 3rd round. Hermansson looked good in the first round.
Wasn't that the third fight of the night?
Nope, Mina versus Emily
then
was
Mackenzie.
decision,
Yeah,
and then
right. Okay.
now it's Hermanson versus Latest. This was a fun fight. First round went Hermanson. Latest had the second round handily, almost 10-8. Third round, Hermanson, was it second or third round where Hermanson broke his rib, still reversed the position and ended up knocking out Talis Latest with ground and pound in 2 minutes in the third round, and he immediately was rolling on the ground screaming. They brought the mic right up to his, and you hear him, oh,
yeah.
Oh, this is the worst pain I felt in my life. Poor guy. He looked like you could see it on film.
He broke a rib and he broke his leg in the first round.
I didn't know he broke his leg too.
Yeah, he said, I don't remember what bone, but I feel like it was somewhere in his shin. And he said in the first round he broke his leg and he could feel the bone floating around the rest of the fight. And his rib. So he was in so much... Freaking what a warrior.
So Hermanson, somebody you're going to be looking forward at because he's got that Leslie Smith underdog spirit and will fight through adversity, and that's the guys that, again, he was getting cooked in there. Latest was running away with that fight in the middle of that whole second round, and proves that Hermanson's on his way up and Latest is on his way out.
Yeah, kind of feel the same way. What about this Brazilian card? A bunch of juiced-ass motherfuckers.
Was there? We had Warley Alves defeating Sultan Aliyev in a TKO in the second round. This was a corner stoppage? Did he not want to step out? Is that why it was at the 5-minute mark of the second round? Or was this...
No, was this the huge eye? Was this where his eye looked like a pimple?
Yes.
Yeah,
and it was that's why it's a doctor stoppage.
His eye swelled all the way up. It was one of the worst eye injuries I've ever seen.
It was more than enough. That's 100%.
Warley looked like a world beater.
Yep.
He looked great. It was a fight. He just picked apart his eye.
Aliyev is, though, one of the lower level Russians. The more I went right into weigh-ins and stuff, I was like, ooh, Aliyev I should have put more money on Alves. But the lines reflected that as well, so we saw it coming as well. I think, though, Alves, it's scary because this is such low competition. If he gets overflated, he's got tough-ass fights right around the corner that aren't as low as Aliyev. These jiu-jitsu guys...
If you don't want to be grossed out, don't look up this picture. It is one of... It turned my stomach.
It was brutal. Definitely brutal. Then we had Elizu Selesky versus Sean Strickland, TKO round number 1. Leslie Smith underdog pick failed. Unfortunately, this was a big splat. I wanted to say it was an early stoppage, and when they replayed it a few times, Strickland was out with that ground and pound. Fun fight. I thought they were mixing it up really well. Strickland looked really good.
Looking great until beep.
But Zaleski has that power as much as Strickland does as well.
And it wasn't the kick that knocked him out. He was still up.
He was still up. It was a ground and pound hammer fist.
Yeah.
To
the back of the head, if you want to be precise about it. There was 3 to the back of the head.
I feel like most refs have been letting that go because it's in the heat of the moment, and it's also the fighter. Because if you turn your head when someone throws a punch...
So is an eye poke.
Yeah, good point.
Just saying. So is a knee to the head when all your limbs are down.
If Strickland were to contest this, he would lose.
Oh, yeah. If you contest anything, you lose regardless of how wrong
Especially on something like this.
It's not a contest. I just am like, well, dang, when you put 3 hammer fists to the back of the guy's head,
I'm still going to be looking forward on Strickland, though. I still think he has many fights to win.
Mine is how soon he takes his next fight.
Great point.
But other than that, I like him.
Quickly, a very interesting theory I just came up with was, we know King's MMA has been notorious for sparring hard as well as a lot of these other gyms. Strickland just moved there and actually has other quality training partners in Kevin Gastelum. Has he been taking harder shots than he's used to and his chin was a little weaker? Because I've seen him eat harder shots than that. But that heel, it did land. That heel was all up the side of his head. There's a lot of people that would have been out.
In the spot.
Yeah,
I can't believe it
right where it needed to.
Or knock him out.
So,
I can't believe it didn't.
Where do you go with either one of these fighters?
I like Strickland going forward. In my opinion, though, this is the fight for Zaleski that makes him... I'm on that train. Watch this guy going forward.
I think we were
the amount of damage that he took, though...
Sure.
It's like, oh, okay, he has a good chin. Oh, okay, he's next level. He didn't have great head movement. I did feel like once Strickland was finding his pace, it was going to be bad news for Zaleski. But then, now seeing the outcome of the kick and knowing more what I know about these kind of strikers, they make the guy feel comfortable setting that up so they can get that kick. So it's like, oh, did Zaleski look bad there, or was he letting Strickland get 3 shots so he was feeling comfortable for the opening for this kick? You know what I mean? Like,
right,
now that I know more chess of this game,
right,
and not looking at
those
it just
the
like
levels.
checkers, it was that John Jones DC fight that took my watching this to the next level of like...
The corner said, okay, now let it go to the head.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? It was planned the whole time? What? The towers didn't fall on their own? I mean...
I'm scared.
I mean, it was... who are you looking more forward to? Because I think Zaleski is going to, again, be such a big favorite for his next fight. And he deserves, rightly so, because Strickland's a high opponent, and people are going to fade Strickland, and I'm going to be like, give me Strickland plus money all day. Still, I like them both going forward. They're still both young men.
I agree with you. And
Wait,
I hope
we
the
were hyping
UFC
it.
doesn't make the same mistake where they just feed too much too soon for Zaleski's ready. Like, Sean Strickland's one of those guys that he's ready to break through the gate, but he's not yet a gatekeeper. Zaleski needs a big name. It's time for a big name for him. And I don't mean, like, obviously, like, oh, who's in his weight class? What were they fighting
They're at 170 pounds. Murderers row of fighters. 170 pounds is one of...
170. I would like to see him against, who's the Viking?
Meek? Is he 185 or 70?
170. He just fought Usman, right? That's 170?
Oh, yeah, Meek. Yep.
Emil Meek versus Zaleski.
But he's coming off a loss. Meek's coming off a loss. You need to go winner, chicken dinner.
Who else is up there in that division? That it can't be
Magny, but he just went into surgery.
Who just beat Magny?
Dos Santos, but he has a fight.
Yes, he's fighting the Kolbster.
Exactly. There's multiple other fights and other guys. Badr Azara, the Afghan killer.
That may be a great fight.
For Zaleski, that's a fun-ass fight. That's a really fun fight.
Here's my question. Will we ever see Zaleski fight out of Brazil?
Yes. I think he trains in the States.
Okay. Okay.
Then we went to Davi Ramos at 155 pounds. Finishing Nick Hein in a submission in the first round. Davi Ramos showing that elite level jiu-jitsu. I thought that judo Nick Hein was going to be harder takedowns for Ramos. Proved not at all. Ramos took him down with a first double leg takedown and never let him up. Did his jaw pop? Did Nick Hines' jaw break? Remember how we watched it? And
I don't know if it did, but something definitely dislocated, maybe popped back in. Something weird happened was it a crossface that he had?
He got a rear naked choke, but the chin was under, which most people say you can't finish that choke. But if you're strong enough and have been doing it for long enough, it works because you break their jaw. It dislocates from their mouth. And you can see a pop, right? In Hines.
Something weird happened.
And then he tapped. And it was like, ooh.
He tapped fast.
Very fast. Either way, I think Hines still has fights left. He's somewhat of a gatekeeper. But just to be in the UFC in general, Davi Ramos on his way up, even though he's a little more advanced with age, he has really interesting fights along the way. How did you feel both of these guys later on as they go on the UFC travels at 155?
Yeah, card fillers, both of them.
Wow. Money to be made. So, then we went to another baby shitting the bed again. When with Albini's youth, with his whatever. We were saying be careful with that Olenek crafty 40-year-old man sneaky submission. The second Ezekiel choke that has ever been. First one done by Alexei Olenek. I remember telling you, look, he's wrapping around the head, he's pulling him down. Oh, he's going for it. Boom, skis. Olenek was all sorts of cut before that with some little minor dirty boxing, which means if people are smart enough later to not be taken down by Olenek, they win that fight. Easy. Legs did it.
Felt Olenek was going to win. I told you at the ceremonial weigh-ins when he felt how big baby Albini was. He gave him a hug, chest to chest, and it just seemed very, like, as if you were like a little bit of leverage from animal to animal, if I can think in my sleep how you felt and how your weight felt and how your body felt, and it's very interesting. And I think those kind of breakdown things, we're throwing it at you, Alpaca Thesaurus.
Alpaca breakdown. If you really gained enough knowledge, because I think you give me underneath somebody's armpits once, I'll tell you how I can flip them on their head.
Yeah, ceremonial weigh-ins. Check it out when they're in their face-to-face. Okay.
Then we went...
Oh, yeah, Baby Albini, I think...
Right.
Interestingly enough, because the division's so lacking, you're still like, okay, throw this guy to anyone still, because a lot of people are still going to get caught in the
Three in a row losses.
choke. Yeah, both guys going forward. I'm kind of intrigued with either of them, and I think there might be money.
But are they like freak shows almost?
Yeah.
Right?
Not Olenek so much. Olenik's kind of like a Dan Kelly.
But he's like the freak show in the sense that he's doing these really unique things that people are like, what? Are you kidding me?
To me, he's like a Dan Kelly. He's like his country's dad bod, even though he doesn't have it. But he's like that kind of representation. And so it's like, his thing.
Who would you like to see fight?
Baby
Albini, anyone you said. Olenek, who would you give next?
I don't even know. They're kind of...
It
they're
doesn't
card
matter.
fillers
Both...
too. Like if I see him on a card, it'll be a name that I'm like, oh, okay, they're fighting.
Watch out for the scarf hold.
Yeah.
Watch out for the fucking Ezekiel choke, because it might be around the corner. So I feel that's a good assessment of where it goes. Then we had Cesar Montanch Ferreira at 185 pounds submit Carl Robertson. I believe we both, or did you have Ferreira? Because I had Robertson TKO.
I had dumb old Robertson. I don't mean to call him dumb.
Robertson had take down the fence for the first two shots, and Ferreira actually came in and took him right down. And once it was on the ground, it was a matter of time. Robertson almost got out twice, but almost only works in horseshoes and hand grenades.
I had Robertson on far too much.
He hurt my DraftKings card as well, because in the first takedown, he used that plum clinch beautifully, and I was like, yes, he's going to be able to knock him out. Ferreira adapted. He's been really working on his wrestling. You can see it on the entries and shots through on the doubles and on the ground.
And his body looked gilled out.
Very Brazilian out. He's eating that Brazilian jam. Yeah. Those acai berries.
I like both guys okay going forward, though. I don't want to fade either yet. Or obviously not the winner, but I don't want to fade Roberts yet.
I think that's a good call as well. I'm going to be watching both of these guys for other spots to make money. Then we got to the pay-per-view at 185 pounds. We had a Legends fight. We had another highlight reel finish for Lyoto, the Dragon, Machida against Vitor, retired Belfort, coming in with his bath suit at the weigh-ins, or what was he in, his pajamas and bathrobe, and Lyoto Machida definitely came to play and hit that front kick again via Anderson Silva. Straight front kick that was the highlight of like 2015 or whatever back in the day. Again. But I would say this time Vitor was out longer. He was out more dramatically, and he looked like a gorilla that's been hit by a trailer or by a twink laser dart. You know how their legs are all bent up on each other and their arms are just kind of...
It was a video game knockout.
It was a video. 100% agree.
It was perfection.
That's how you do it.
It was like, boop!
Then the immediate bow afterwards didn't follow up with a punch. Lyoto knew, true sportsman, true competitor. He knew it was one and done. I really love all of Machida. Machida still have fights to win in the UFC. He can still beat a lot of these lower guys, especially at the 205 division that's lacking.
Do you think we ever see Lyoto fight out of Brazil again? Or do you think the UFC's found their sweet spot with him? They're like, oh, he's winning again. Let's leave him in Brazil. His body's looking good.
How easy is it for a fighter to just say, oh, I had such a good camp at home, I'm only going to fight in Brazil. We're having 3-4
I'm
cards a year.
older now. I want to be close to my family.
Close to home. We got better honey and asahi. Wink, wink.
Leo, it was against Vitor, and it was a fight that from all the hardcore fans that we saw a decade too late. For me watching it, and I have to remember this going into Lyoto Machida's next fight, is it was against an old man Vitor Belfort. But wow, he looked so amazing. His foot movement, the way he was moving his body, his karate. It was sweet. He looked like a young man.
He did look way better, but is this the Vitor effect where it's just like, oh, that's Vitor Belfort. He should still be a monster in there. But at this stage of his career, a lot of people could do that to him right now.
And personally, I'm so glad I got to see him and Amanda Nunes fight on the same card because I always thought they were the same person.
I always thought it was Michael Jackson up there. But with Vitor, it was really nice, and we were talking about it amongst company, just like, this is the last time we're ever going to see him fight. That is, from the beginning to the end, it's the end of an era. He's one of the original, but last way to go.
Does he get a clap? Thanks, Vitor.
Titor.
Is Titor the Uberim to over?
If he goes back to training and bulks up all of a sudden and looks like, you're going to know, but he's got ways to make money. These guys now can start gyms and all sorts of stuff. And
thank you, sir, for your battles and letting us be a part.
Going on to the 135-pound division, we had John Lineker defeating Kelleher. A lot of people saw this coming. We thought it was going to be a decision, wage-a-gauge type of situation. Ended up being a finish in the third round. Kelleher just could not take the barrage of punches. Lineker sets up, as you're saying, great footwork. Even though it's very looping and kind of each shots, it's very calculated. He throws 2-3 to the body, goes back up to the head, and eventually that left finds a way. He throws that left, though, 5-6 times in a row sometimes. Chasing you, just remember, I was like, look at this.
That was
6 lefts in a row.
The best-looking John Lineker. He has, in my opinion, he has found his stride at 135. This is a great weight class for him. He looks great.
Made weight.
I like all of it.
Easy
peasy. He looked, that was the best-looking John Lineker I have ever seen.
How do you feel about Kelleher?
I like Boom still going forward. I don't think he's a walkthrough. That's how good I think John Lineker looked. We thought Boom was our wager gauger, and he got 17 points. I think he was the second least expensive fighter, or third. He was pretty low.
Third.
He wasn't my worst scorer of the night by any means. He threw at least a couple punches out there.
Oh, Robertson?
I know. But John Lineker, I was super impressed, and Brian Kelleher tweeted out afterward, he really does have hands of stone.
Good for you. I love Brian Kelleher's social media following. It's
Hashtag boom.
Boom, boom. You got a couple fans here at Latb because he didn't want to give up in there, but he got caught. It was a brutal fight. It was still one of the fight of the nights out there. What ended up winning fight of the night, by the way?
I have no idea.
Neither do
I. And I only watched a
watched
couple of the
press conferences.
Yeah.
I agree.
I have no idea.
I'll end up finding it before it's over. So, on to Mackenzie Big Rig DERNs against Amanda Bobby Cooper.
That's my favorite thing.
We had Mackenzie DERN coming in 7 pounds. We talked about it briefly Friday night. She didn't even try to make weight. Did you end up seeing the scale photo that she had? Which was really suspicious when she held the scale up and said, "It's going great, guys. It's going great." And she's holding it next to her where Pennington made weight and properly showed, like, here's a collage of my feet and me making weight. How you're supposed to do it. So, Mackenzie DERN, 7 pounds, she said the UFC and the doctors she was talking with the entire time, and they were telling her that she wasn't going to be able to make it. They had more than enough time to get ready for it, so she stopped sweating a few times before, but you watch the embeddeds. I watch the embeddeds. You can see when someone's getting a workout, and you can see when somebody went out there and was like, I'm not losing any weight. Bitch, you didn't warm up. Like,
and
you didn't warm up.
This is where I'm at with it. Okay, let's say all this that she's saying is true, and let's say she actually tried to lose this weight, then be respectful enough to give Amanda Bobby Cooper the same 7 pounds. Or, like, let's make this a catch weight at 120. Let's make this a catch weight at 122. Sure. Let your opponent have that same ability to not have to sit in the sweat sauna 4 times for an hour and a half for the next 24 hours.
Right.
I was actually surprised at how thick Amanda Bobby Cooper's arms look compared to DERN's, even though DERN had the extra weight. And I was flabbergasted, and I've never seen a body like that in women's UFC yet. of DERN's. I was surprised at her build. Like she looked like a Beyonce body.
Oh, she looked like a baby Albini. What's up, girl? I'm coming at you because that's so disrespectful.
It was just so thick. Like her body in that outfit, it was like she looked like a lady who should be a size 8 that was squeezing into a size 4. And you could see everything.
You love every. You know that the UFC loves every photographer for the UFC is just like, oh my gosh, perfect. Everything above the waist, she's filling out. You can see where she carries a good 8 pounds of weight.
I was just like, whoa! She was
thick
thicker than a Snicker.
That's where you know that she being kicked off of her gym right before this at her main training gym because the lab.
She don't wanna.
She didn't want to train and she didn't want to cut weight and they're like they can foresee that she's gonna start to get a losing record because she doesn't like to work hard. That's kind of, I feel like, the situation that's happening with her.
You chubby little princess.
UFC and everyone's been throwing stuff because her headshots are good.
And it's so the other thing that's so disrespectful is why don't you just have Cyborg fight at flyweight? Why don't we just do this?
Right.
Why don't you just have Holly Holm step down to fight Amanda Bobby Cooper and just say this is fine because what's the difference of 7 pounds? Why not 10? And then and she's done it enough because I feel like as far as I've seen DERN in the UFC, this has happened every one of her fights, and she's only fought.
She made weight last time.
No, did she?
Yeah, I believe she did.
We should find that out. I don't believe she did. I feel like she's had 2 fights in the UFC, and both she missed weight. But I could be wrong. I don't want to look it up because then I have to take my phone off.
It's fine. It's fine.
I don't want to be disturbed. I'm hanging out with our wonderful fans right now talking about fights. It was such BS.
In the fight, though, do you think that size mattered? Obviously, her gas tank would have been better, but this being a finish in the first round.
Where I think, let's say if we were boxers, size might not matter as much. If what I do is hip toss or like take you down to submit you, size matters all day, especially in the takedown. What do I do worse? What's my worst thing in the octagon? My takedown. How can I make my takedown better? 7 pounds of leverage.
Good point. I could see that. I feel like it matters. A half a pound matters. A 0.5 of a pound matters because you can miss by that. So 7 pounds, just the bigger advantage. She ended up landing a right, though, that ended up getting the fight to the ground.
It was for an advantage, which that is... why not steroids, right? Why not let Amanda Bobby Cooper put razors in her gloves? You know what I mean? If it's for an advantage...
And it was an advantage, but a right did knock her down. It wasn't. What I'm getting at is what I saw in the fight, the little bit that I did see. Mackenzie DERN looping in her punches very over the top because, again...
She didn't look good.
But she threw heavy punches because she has that jiu-jitsu ace in her sleeve. If she gets to the ground, even on the bottom, she can get around to finally finish you. And she showed that, but she ended up landing that right, putting ABC on her butt. And... ABC, I love you, girl. Love the tough girl kind of dude. I like ABC, but I don't know if she's UFC quality because I don't know if DERN is UFC quality.
I agree with you, and I also think because of the weight loss, Amanda Bobby Cooper, and I just want to say her whole name every time.
Me too.
It's like Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things. I like anyone with Bobby as a middle name. Bobby! Amanda Bobby Cooper, I think she got too emotionally invested. And so she came out a little angry. Mm-hmm. It almost is the Ronda tactic in a way. I don't know.
And... DERN did make weight at 116 pounds in her debut against Ashley Yoder, just to clarify that.
I guess, though, the one thing I did hear is that Amanda Bobby Cooper, she did hear that DERN wasn't going to make weight ahead of time, and she was like, I will die before I don't make weight.
Which I love, again, as I'm saying, I loved all of Bobby Cooper, even in the loss. She can beat people in the 115. She can beat Yoder. That's the fight I want to see.
Amanda Bobby Cooper Yoder. You hear it.
You heard it here first.
Amanda Bobby Cooper didn't take any damage either.
Yeah, it was minimal. It ended up being finished. But on the way forward, I'm looking to spend money against DERN.
I did want to
spend money against DERN.
I wonder if I took a picture of it. I wonder. Oh, if I did, it'll be so wonderful.
Anything left with this DERN one?
Oh, we can move on. I wanted to read what something Uncle Joey's had. You know how
the ongoing theme, because he got in trouble for talking about DERN's tremendous rear smelling.
Yeah,
tremendously.
he said she didn't even work up a sweat. Like,
this time?
Yeah, like it wasn't even worth it.
It wasn't even worth it. Yeah.
Kind of thing.
You know she was having hand sandwiches beforehand. To the
I think her body was like, all the single ladies, all the single ladies, all the single ladies.
Hey, Rihanna's bringing it back in.
That's what she kind of looked like.
Riri's bringing it in, and nobody's saying negative things, and I agree. I think
it's fine. Just fight at 125.
That's what I'm saying too. That's exactly what I'm saying.
You can't bring that juice into the 115.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on now.
The co-main event ended up being a fun one. The second decision of the entire night. We ended up having Kelvin Gastelum defeating Jacare Souza in a 3-round decision.
What was the other decision?
It was earlier in the night. It was, we have it here. MV versus Mina.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So.
Boom. No, not Boom. No, I just meant Boom.
No, Boom was in the other one, yeah.
Who's on third? Sorry, that's old.
That's before my time.
Me too. That's like...
They like to call me Ray J's, the other one that I don't know. I never heard it, and I'm like, what the fuck? So, Souza ended up winning that first round decisively. Not did he hurt Kelvin, ended up wobbling him in the first round. It was a 10-9. Souza eked it out.
No, I don't know if he was a hard takedown, and then he controlled him and dominated, and he kept getting to side control, and Kelvin didn't take a ton of damage from the bottom though, but
he lost the position.
Looked like Souza wore himself out. He would get to side control, and then Calvin would wiggle himself out, looked like he was about to give up his back, and then he'd be in full mount again. It was like this over and over again for one full round. And then second round starts, and oddly enough, Kelvin has more energy, and we're like, wow, this is weird. Souza looked like
he was worn out in the grappling, and those takedowns were what made that fight. In that second and third round, Jacare wasn't able to land any other takedowns, and Kelvin was, once he fell after that first round.
He did get another takedown. The second, Kelvin handled.
Yeah.
He was great with his takedown defense. He got up off the cage a lot. It was just the boxing, and he hurt Souza a couple of times.
Yep. They hurt each other. But I do feel Kelvin, by the third round, we saw him be like, Souza can't hurt me anymore. And he was just eating Souza shots to land his 2 and 3 punch combinations. Especially that right, straight, left is on every single highlight you see of Kelvin Gastelum. It's the right, straight, left. He even threw it and landed his 2 best shots on Souza with that right, straight, left. It's just something to southpaw to notice with Kelvin, I think.
Yeah, he does have a double jab with his straight left, and then he almost like lets this right just hang out, like it's so dangerous.
Yeah, like he'll just flick it to range you.
Yeah.
He'll just throw it to range, but that left is what hurts everybody, every time. It was a fun one, though, and I do think they were going to give it right. I had Evil Twin text me saying, Kelvin won that fight, but they're going to give it to Souza. We both said, Kelvin won that fight, we're going to give it to Souza. Saw it all over the Twitterverse. Same thing. And guess what? Judges got it right.
We were so surprised.
Very surprised, and I've got to give credit where credit is due. Brazil, you did a good job.
Kelvin did win that fight.
He did win that fight. Where do you feel they both go after this? Who do you give for Kelvin?
Kelvin has to get
Is he calling out Michael Bisping again? Even though
Kelvin said he wants the winner of Whitaker and Yoel.
I agree. That's the right call. He deserves it.
I like that.
And who was calling out, though, Bisping earlier in the night already?
Machida, again.
Again.
For the second time.
Yeah, me too. Oh, by the way, Lesbo put in her name.
I'll fight Bisping.
Michael Bisping.
Michael Bisping, you want that UFC
London? I love you.
You want to pick somebody that you don't have to really be worried about to retire and fight?
You know.
I got your number, Michael Bisping.
185, don't even matter. Catch me,
I have
buddy.
my Michael Bisping crazy eyes right now.
Those are scary. You don't want to pull those out too often.
No, I was trying to make this one do a little something
The
different.
quiver.
But then I was like, I don't want to get a migraine later.
And Jacare Souza, many fights that he can fight. He's a gatekeeper. He's still a top echelon guy.
I'm going to be fading Souza.
I think there's money to be made
He
against
is
him.
done after round 1. I think
But there's many fighters he can beat in round 1.
he did impressively eat some shots, though, that I would have been scared of in yesteryear for him. So that part, whatnot, okay. He just looked slow. It looked age caught up to him.
I agree. He did look like a different level of his life. Now Jacare also moved to the middle of Orlando for the first training camp ever.
Did you see the reboot of the Planet of the Apes?
Yes, loved it.
And you know when they're on the bridge, the one slow ape. No, it might be Project X I'm thinking about. When he's inside the Matthew McConaughey or Matthew Broderick movie, and the one ape is inside and he looks slow.
Oh, the most touching scene, and then he gets X-rayed to death.
Yeah, I think that was Jacare Souza. It looks like him.
He has the glasses.
That's a side-by-side. That's a hashtag no racist. That is a legitimate thing.
Is it because he has the hair on top? He let it go?
I don't know. His whole being in the second round just changed. He looked like a radiated
We compared
ape.
2 different people to apes this show. Just saying. Keeping tally in case anyone
our
wants to
ape
know.
tally.
Our ape tally. Yeah, gotta be Brazilian and apish.
No way. I'm not Colby Covington over here, okay, Brazilians?
So-
Hashtag one love.
The main event ended up finishing in the 5th round. We had Amanda Mataleon Nunes defeating Raquel Pennington in a very controversial fight.
I think this will go down in the top 5 most controversial UFC fight happenings of all time.
Anytime we've ever seen this before, every corner I've seen and had any trust for, like that corner lost so much credibility because the coach
fill
said,
everyone in if you didn't see.
"Please, you explain much better than I do."
So in the fight, if Rocky had anything, maybe she had 2 minutes in round 2. Maybe. Other than that, Amanda picks her apart the whole fight. Round 4, the minute in the corner after round 4, before round 5, Raquel Pennington looks at her coaches and turns around and says, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm done. I don't want to go back out there.
That's throw in the towel worthy immediately. Done, girl. We'll get you another fight. Don't worry about it. But don't waste life.
Her corner sends her back in, and she literally, her nose blew up in the ring within first minute of that 5th round.
But it ended up being a knee that landed in the 4th, which... Was there ever a point?
No. The knee landed in the 4th, yes.
Yeah.
And then I think a whole separate added to damage was done with the ground and pound with elbows, another additional knee, Amanda just tore her apart.
Yeah, because Pennington went in there just being like, God damn it, just get me out of here now. But what I wanted to just get into initially was there ever a point in time that Pennington was ever in that fight? Because I didn't see it.
I didn't either. In my opinion, it was too much too soon for her. It makes me very sad. I think Rocky is one of the most talented women in the division. It was just too much too soon. She'd never seen a 4th and 5th round before. Mm-hmm. The champ had just come off a slaying fight where Amanda had the cardio. So even though coming from Colorado, even if you give it that Colorado cardio, maybe she has 3.5 to 4 rounds lucky. She doesn't have those championship rounds left in her. She was telling her corner she couldn't go back out because her heart and lungs could no longer, not to mention her legs, both legs were brutalized.
She was getting eaten apart from the beginning of that round. I don't know if it was a hurt leg, but I feel like it was her lead leg, the one that she almost lost a year before this. The Florida
we are having full tsunami if you can hear it right now.
Right now. We gained a good amount of water, and it's needed this time of year for us. But either way, what wasn't needed
the rain
was
is coming
the
down
amount of
on
condition.
Florida like Amanda Leone came down on Rocky Pennington.
Yeah, undeservingly.
It makes it...
So, what do you think Pennington goes? Do you think she stays with her camp? Do you think she fully retires? Leon is going to have, again, many other fights to go. Cyborg, hopefully, right around the corner. But the more interesting aspect to me is, what does the community do, and how
Here
does
is
the
what
corner
I think,
take
in
the
my
weight?
opinion, what Rocky is a really tricky, well-rounded, she is an actual, one of the rare females who is a well-rounded, especially in the 135, like, Amanda is becoming super well-rounded.
Yep.
But that wasn't her strong suit. Whereas Rocky is like this weird, she has a bag of tricks that we don't really get to see. She just never got her feet under her in this fight. In my opinion, she needs to go to a Southern California camp. She needs a Dom Cruz, a Uriah Faber, one of these camps in SoCal to have a family environment that will take care of her. We were talking about it, that she is one of the people that's from a harder background.
Yep.
And we see the Cody Garbrands, the people that are from these harsher backgrounds, when they're in a camp, they can trust those people. That Uriah would have never let that happen. Dom would have never let that happen. Like, there's certain fighters, and I said this during the fight too, as the sportsman in me, and maybe in you too, there's something I wouldn't want to regret, and so I'm glad you got me off the stool. I'm glad you got me back in there for the 5th round, and I went out on my shield. Even though it is controversial, my father would have done that for me. That's what he would have done. He would have, even if I would have been like, I don't wanna, he would have been like, you're gonna regret it if you don't do it. And I would have, looking back now at all those decisions. So, like, was it horrible? Did it need to happen? Was it a mismatch? And we only say shit's mismatched when somebody goes in and Shevchenko somebody. When they go in and now we're like, this should have never happened. Well, every fight Shevchenko has in this division is going to look like that because she's so dominant. Every fight Amanda's going to have in this division might look like that because she's so dominant. No one's saying that about Demetrius. Like, no one's saying that about John Jones. That's how you become one of the greats. No one said it when Aldo was the champion for 10 years. So the women, it's a little harder to see happen. Right. But, so for me, I didn't know if I was being biased of being like, I don't know. I think I would have wanted to get back out there. Mm-hmm. That's me not knowing yet if Rocky has some crazy permanent fucking damage in her sinuses now. That wouldn't have happened otherwise.
I also think that her leg might be not where she thought it was going to be in an actual live action fight, and she could potentially just step away. She didn't
fight for a year, and then she fought
a year and a half.
The best woman at 135.
Right.
In your last fight, you exploited, you fucking handled Miesha Tate.
On her way out.
We love Miesha Tate.
Right.
It was her last fight. She knew she was done when the Amanda fight beforehand, and then
So, other news, we summed up that card with a bow. It was a 10. We ended up having all sorts of fun finishes. It is just a fun reminder, even though Brazilian rules might be askew, that's what makes fun fights. Letting people be juiced to the tits makes Finish City happen. People go to sleep.
Good pay-per-view. And yes,
Fun.
UFC,
Pay-per-view.
we didn't illegally stream here at Lisbo and the Bean. Whoop. We want our fighters. We want Amanda to get her cut. We paid that $64.99 for Amanda to get her
HD.
cut. So just remember here.
So Magdalene, send us a retweet just saying, girl.
Yeah, we know Nina might need a new pair of Jimmy Choos. We know Nina might got expensive taste. You got to take care of some things.
Other quick housekeeping things that we should go over real quick was the Bellator ended up happening the same night. I ended up not watching it. Obviously, UFC was going on.
I did after though. I did. I got to see.
I saw the gifts. I didn't see the.
I got to see my. No. I only watched one fight. I only watched Ryan Bader because it was.
I watched it because it was gift worthy. Good play.
I watched it over and over again.
Yeah, it was 15 seconds long.
Yeah.
Ryan Bader knocking down Mohammed
King No Mo.
King No Mo.
King No Mo.
Good one. Unfortunately, coming
Bader's
back
my pick in the tourney.
I have Mitrione.
So
that's the fun one, but that's the way it's set up. It's gonna go. There's fun ones on the way there. But it was a jab that knocked down King Mo, and then ground and pound, 15 seconds, a jab knocked him down. Any last things? I think we hit other UFC topics. Other
no, we got
topics.
Fights coming up.
We got another weekend of fights,
and you know some shit'll be popping off on Twitter that we'll have to talk about too. So until then, I love you and I appreciate your likes and listens.
That's by the beat.
Thanks for listening to Latb. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.